In this training, we will look at how we can enrich data flows in our diagrams by using data assets. When we are responsible for making security choices for our product, Irius Risk can help to achieve that. We do so by inputting application and infrastructure details into the diagramming module. In prior training, we've already covered how to add components and data flows, and in this one, our primary focus will be on the data transferred between and also processed by components. Including data assets and data flows in our diagram allows us to make more informed and more secure design choices as we develop our product. In Irius Risk, the term asset is used to describe the type of data passed from one component to another. They can be more generic, like customer data, authentication data, or credit card data. Whilst being vague can have its merits in the early design stages of a product, a more specific asset could be a customer name, username, or the personal account number on a credit card. In the end, it is always the data that holds perceived value and therefore requires protection. This is precisely why we refer to it as an asset. It is important to note in Irius Risk the term asset is never used to describe a component. It exclusively refers to the data or information being transferred. In Irius Risk, we can define how components store or process assets by completing a component questionnaire, but we won't go into detail for that on this particular training. First, we are focusing on the data flows that transfers the data between components. In most cases, when an asset is moved from one component to another, it brings about a certain degree of risk. The difference in trust rating between trust zones plays a role in this process, but the sensitivity of the asset remains unaffected by the trust zones it traverses. To determine the data sensitivity of the asset, we require an intermediary element known as security classification. Details creating security classifications won't be covered in this training, but will be revisited later on. For now, it's enough to know the security classification combines the three fundamental cybersecurity requirements, which are confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, let's talk about data flow tags in Irius Risk. How are they different to data flow assets? Well, we can use tags to give extra details about data format or how data is moved around. Another thing to note about tags is that anyone can create them, but creating an asset requires special permissions in Irius Risk. Remember, when specifying the type of data being transferred, always use assets on data flows. While it sounds tempting, don't use tags for this as they don't possess any security characteristics. Now, let's explore how all of this functions in Irius Risk. We will continue from where we left off with our hotel booking web application. We have already set up trust zones, components, and data flows in this diagram. Hover your mouse over the data flow connecting the web service and the database. Right-click and select Data Flow Details. This action brings in a modal with further options, and here you can select multiple assets listed such as credit card data, customer data, and so on. Once you have selected all the relevant assets, don't forget to press Save. Returning to the diagram, you will see the assets are now associated with the data flow. To conclude, we have covered what assets are and why they're important. We discussed how allocation of assets to data flows impacts the risk of data transfer. We also clarified the differences between assets and tags. And finally, we learned how to apply assets to data flows within the Irius Risk user interface.